a man who really needs no introduction. Most of you have probably heard Jerry speak at one time or another. You probably know him. I have pages of stuff on Jerry's bio, but we talked right before this, and he asked me just to highlight a couple things and skip all of the presentations he's made and all the articles he's written and all the professorships he's had and past positions. But wanted me to mention that he is currently working with Meltzer, Lippy, Goldstein, and Whitestone. Am I saying that right? In New York City, because he's still so busy that he needed a support staff. He's of counsel with a number of firms, including Orange County's own Jeffrey Verdon Law Group, right across the street. He's also the director of the Notre Dame Tax Institute, which is November 10th and 11th of this year. And been to that conference. It's an excellent conference that's in South Bend. Typically, but I think it's all virtual this year. Is that right, Jerry?
I haven't decided whether to pull the plug yet.
Okay. Okay. Michigan graduated from law school, God, way back in, would you say 2002? So anyway, today Jerry's going to talk about using installment sales with non-grantor trust for estate and income tax planning. So give it up for Jerry.
All right, today's presentation, I actually, at the last minute, added something based on the generational split dollar case called Estate of Levine, because everybody thought it was a wonderful taxpayer victory. There it is, Notre Dame, tentatively scheduled to be live in South Bend, Indiana, but given everything at the end of the month, at the end of May, we'll probably decide to pull the plug and have it virtual again, which means anybody around the country can attend it virtually. The only advantage of if it's live, it's the Thursday and Friday before a home Notre Dame football game. But if it's virtual, that's out of the question. In any event, I was originally scheduled to give this presentation last February for your annual meeting, but that got canceled. So here I am. Craig said, why don't you schlep out to Orange County in April? And it was very easy to do so. Okay. So interestingly, the generational split dollar case was pretty straightforward. And it was the first case where there were no bad facts. Remember, the other generational split dollar cases, Morissette and Cahill, all had bad facts, so that it was fairly easy for the IRS to win those cases in tax court. What happened is, very simplistically, Mrs. Levine, the senior generation, and we always call G1 the parents, G2 the children, and G3 the grandchildren, so it's easy to follow. So G1 provides an irrevocable trust for the benefit of her descendants, G2 and G3, with $6.5 million under a split dollar agreement called the Economic Benefit Agreement. And the trust used the $6.5 million to pay the premiums on a life insurance policy and ensuring the lives of the next generation. So basically, under the split dollar agreement, under the economic benefit regime, G1 was entitled to receive the greater of the premiums paid, which was $6.5 million, or the cash value of the policy. And we know that after a number of years, the cash value of the policy will grow in excess of $6.5 million. So in effect, the fact that it's a deferred payment obligation, the growth in the cash value is the practical equivalent of the interest you would get on the loan. Okay. Now, what happened is Mrs. Levine died within a year or two after she advanced the money. And the question in that case was very simple. Well, actually, there's two questions: whether everything should be included in the gross estate under some legal theories. And the second question was the value of the reimbursement right. Now, the judge in the tax court case did not want to spend 4 or 5 days on a valuation trial. So he forced the IRS and the taxpayer to stipulate to the value of the reimbursement right. And the IRS was so confident they would win on the legal issues that they figured, we'll stipulate. So they valued the reimbursement right in Mrs. Levine's gross estate at $2.2 million, which means it was an asset included in her gross estate. So the estate took an income tax basis and the reimbursement right of $2.2 million. And then what happened was, so essentially $4.3 million of value, because what happened is Mrs. Levine lent $6.5 million of cash to the trust. So she had a right to receive the practical equivalent of $6.5 million in cash, valued at $2.2 million. So we essentially had $4.3 million of value disappear, which is really cash. So it's the practical equivalent of getting a discount on cash. And so happened is 40% of 4.3 million. So the estate tax savings was $1.7 million. So the question becomes, now everybody was saying, oh, it's a wonderful victory for the taxpayer, but the IRS never litigated the valuation question. And I can guarantee you for future generational split dollar cases, they're not going to make the mistake of stipulating it. And I can tell you, based on what I've seen, that a typical valuation discount in a generational split dollar case, the IRS will